Joker seems to be the film that's inspired 1,000 bad takes, and I kinda knew I was probably going to end up covering one of them. In a completely unrelated note, this video from Screencrush popped up in my recommended recently.
Warner Brothers hasn't announced the Joker sequel yet, but maybe that's because Joker is already a secret prequel to the DC Extended Universe, meaning that it takes place in the same cinematic universe as the Justice League.
God, no. Could we please actually, not do this? Joker is actually a good film? Yes, I know. We live in a society. Meme. But, it is a good film, so I would prefer to keep it as far away from DC's situation as we possibly can. But apparently there's evidence that it's in the DCEU, which is unfortunate, because now it's going to be tied to things like... I was gonna cut to one of the more embarrassing scenes from the DCEU here, but I think it's actually better to just cut to black, so that your mind can fill in the blanks with one of the many, many options there are. But that's unfortunate, isn't it? That there's evidence that this is tied to this. As much as I love the idea of a huge interconnected universe where everything connects to that's what interconnected means, Jay. Joker was great as a standalone, so it really sucks that there's definitely 100% for realsies evidence that Joker is a part of the DCEU. Wait, actually, that's not true. I've deceived you in a cold open style bit at the beginning of this video. I bet you feel like a fool right now. Hang on, my chair keeps rotating by itself because of, I guess, gravity, which means this is happening and it's really distracting to try and talk while continuously nudging myself back into a non-stupid position. Actually, there's, broadly speaking, no evidence that these films exist in the same universe, and Screencrush just made it up in a really bad video that they released, because money, I guess. But no, there's very little evidence these films exist in the same universe. In fact, there's quite a lot of evidence that they don't. But we'll get to that. First, let's get to the evidence that Screencrush brings up that these things are interlinked. Their first point of evidence is that Joker, spoilers, ends with a crime wave, and the DCEU is kind of dark. Listen to him talk about Batman.
He burns pedophiles with a bat brand, uses guns, and kills people. Alright, so how does this relate to the Joker?
It doesn't. Sorry, I cut you off there. Please, carry on.
How does this relate to the Joker? Well, what if there's a reason this universe, and particularly Batman, is so dark? Maybe it's because Joker actually takes place in this universe, and the events of the film kicked off a violent, masked criminal crime wave.
Man, that's crazy! I was thinking that maybe it would be some just, mediocre evidence, I don't know, both films feature a character called Martha or something, but this is a really solid connection.
In Joker's finale, the people of Gotham wear clown masks, they riot, murder the wealthy in the streets, and free him from police custody, leaving the audience to wonder, well, what's going to happen next?
From this point, he speculates that the ending of Joker would probably have caused a lot of problems going forward in Gotham. Yeah! He then argues that this would make the Bruce Wayne growing up in this Gotham more violent and extreme, which isn't necessarily true. Most portrayals of Bruce Wayne have him growing up in a crime-ridden city. That's why he becomes Batman, because of Gotham's serious crime problem he wants to stop. But does a more violent and extreme Bruce Wayne remind you of anyone in particular?
The Bruce Wayne of this Gotham City would be more extreme, more violent, and especially more vengeful toward any criminal wearing a mask.
Do you bleed?
This Batman, who would torture and kill criminals, sounds a lot more like the Batfleck of the DCEU.
But hang on, isn't it really heavily implied, almost to the point of being explicitly stated, that the Batman of the DCEU used to be less violent and less extreme, but slowly lost his way over the years?
New rules.
We're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals. Nothing's changed.
Yes, it has, sir. Men fall from the sky. Innocents die. That's how it starts. The feeling of powerlessness turns good men cruel.
What you're describing is events creating a Batman who would be surely dark from the very start, no? Not a Batman who was good before, but gradually lost his way over the years. I mean, that scene that I just showed you that I really hope I don't get claimed for because Warner Brothers is about how Batman has started doing bad things, and Alfred is blaming Bruce's fear of Superman for it. Not the Joker and Bruce's rough upbringing. It's almost as if there's no connection here.
A proliferation of mask-wearing villains could have been the initial inspiration for him to dress up like a bat.
Man, it sure could have maybe possibly been. It's at this point you may be wondering, hang on. Right, okay. In Joker, we see Thomas and Martha Wayne getting killed, like they do at the beginning of every Batman franchise ever. But we also see Batman's parents getting killed in the DCEU, and it's a different scene where they're played by different actors, where different things happen. For example, the killer is wearing a Joker mask in the Joker version, and isn't in the DCEU. Surely these two versions of events can't exist in the same universe. You'd be right to think that, but Screencrushman has you covered. He can explain that away with his magic words.
When the Waynes are leaving the movie theater, there's a poster for the 1981 film Excalibur right here. In Batman vs. Superman's retelling of the Waynes' late night alley walk, Excalibur is coming soon. Now this is an awfully random detail for Joker director Todd Phillips to include if this wasn't meant to be the same family of Waynes.
Oh my god, this confirms it. All other differences aside, there's the same poster hanging up, which means they're the same scene. Ah, brilliant. Fucking checkmate, atheists.
Now this is an awfully random detail for Joker director Todd Phillips to include if this wasn't meant to be the same family of Waynes.
You know, it could be an Easter egg. I've heard that you know about those, based on the fact that your channel is full of Easter egg videos. It could even be a coincidence. So okay, one poster is the same. How can you explain all of the differences?
One big problem here, obviously, is that Thomas Wayne looks nothing like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who played Thomas Wayne in the DCEU. But then, comic book movies recast all the time. There's some poetic license when you're retelling your version of a story. And also, this isn't an exact retelling of that event. This is Bruce's dream of that event. That's why it focuses on such small details like the pearls. So maybe Bruce Wayne had some bad pizza, fell asleep watching The Walking Dead, and dreamed that Negan was his dad.
Holy shit, they're the same franchise. Okay, so what you're telling me is that they're different because one is how it actually happened, and one is how Bruce remembers it. You know, if I was dreaming about the murder of my parents, as I often do, that's a joke. My parents are fine. I haven't killed them, I promise. If I was dreaming about the murder of my parents, one thing that would definitely stick out in my mind was the creepy fucking clown mask that the murderer wore. I mean, you're unironically arguing that
a proliferation of mask-wearing villains could have been the initial inspiration for him to dress up like a bat.
While also arguing that when one of those masked criminals kills his parents, the mask isn't something he really cares to remember. But you know one thing he remembers really clearly in that dream? The movies that were coming out in his local cinema.
Now this is an awfully random detail for Joker director Todd Phillips to include if this wasn't meant to be the same family of Waynes.
Yes, it's totally supposed to be the same family of Waynes. That's why all of the other details except that one are completely different, for fuck's sake. Okay, so maybe they recast Thomas Wayne. Sure, that can happen. But then why would they not bother to, like, match his look? Like, he has a mustache in the DCEU. Are they just gonna... fuck it. To sum up, these are radically different interpretations of the death of Bruce Wayne's parents. There's a huge number of differences that make it abundantly clear that they're not meant to be the same portrayal. However, one movie poster is the same. Calling this evidence is like calling this character development.
And also, you might be thinking, doesn't the DCEU already have a Joker?
Yes! I think a few people might have been thinking about that.
Yes, Jared Leto played a version of the Joker in Suicide Squad. Overall, I always felt like Leto's version of the Joker was just trying too hard.
Okay, so he makes the point that Jared Leto was definitely trying too hard when he was playing the Joker. And then he goes on to say that this might be in-universe because Jared Leto's Joker is just imitating the original Joker and is trying way too hard to be like him.
Maybe that's because this Joker actually is trying too hard because he's not the original Joker.
I mean, that certainly isn't impossible.
He's trying to live up to the original Arthur Fleck, who inspired a movement. So he's overcompensating with tattoos and just overall by being too creepy.
Okay, so what's your evidence that there's a connection here? I'm sure you have some, right? You're not just going, hey, these two things, right? You know, these two things. Actually, he does have some evidence. Here it is. Jared Leto's Joker has a tattoo of 4 aces that says all in on it. This could mean that he's all in on imitating the original Joker. Evidence! I'm not joking, that's actually what he says.
It's like the 4 aces that read all in, meaning he's all in on assuming this identity, or the text, God's only child, meaning that he alone is worthy of Arthur Fleck's legacy.
Only? Hang on, you're taking that he has a tattoo with the word only in it, and taking that to assume that, hey, maybe he's not the only Joker, because clearly that's what that could mean. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that this means he definitely is the only Joker. I'm fairly sure it's just some random nonsense that they decided would make him look edgy. I'm just pointing out that you focused on the word only and decided it meant he's not the only Joker. Man, come on. Why are you doing this? Don't tell me that you unironically believe that any of the stuff you just said is true. that there's a connection there, that, hey, this tattoo could mean that he's not the original Joker. This is evidence. You don't really believe that. Come on. The best thing you can do for your reputation at this point is go, yeah, I was making it up. Because the alternative is admitting that you actually believed that there was some validity to this. Which, like, if you're gonna stand by this, if you're gonna double down, if you're really telling me that you unironically believed the things you said there, get help. Please, get help. Anyway, let's move on to some more of this guy's points.
I mentioned earlier that Leto's Joker has a grill to replace his teeth. Fans have theorized that Batman punched out all of his chompers after Joker killed Robin, which makes sense because if this version of Bruce Wayne would have watched a guy in a clown mask kill his parents, then he would have like zero tolerance for clowns. The sight of a villain resurrecting the image of the Joker would make him want to send a message: no more Jokers in Gotham.
Okay, so there's a lot of stupid to unpack here. Just to be extra crystal clear, the logical through line here is, in the movies, the Jared Leto Joker has a grill in his teeth. Therefore, maybe he's not the first Joker. Right. Just to be clear, the only part of this argument that's based in canon events of the films is that he's killed Robin in this universe and he has a grill. The idea that those two things are in any way related is a fan theory based on nothing else. But hey, even if that was canon, like that literally happened in the films on screen, those events, Screencrush's argument would then be, hey, the Joker killed Robin, and then Batman punched out his teeth. Batman's motivation behind delivering this punch is probably that he really hates clowns. I'm just imagining a different version of that scene where, like, I don't know, the Riddler kills Robin instead of the Joker, and Batman's like, fucking hell, man, if you were a clown, I'd probably get really angry right now.
But also, look at the Thomas Wayne that we see in the Joker. He's more violent, he ruined Penny's life, and may have beaten Arthur when he was a child. If the Waynes have this level of violence in their DNA, it's easy to imagine young Bruce growing up to brand criminals and try to murder aliens.
Man, come on. Why are you doing this? Don't tell me that you unironically... I actually am really having to resist the urge to just play the entire clip of me saying get help again. Dude is unironically arguing that Thomas Wayne, kind of violent in Joker. This must mean he's the father of the DCEU's Batman, because that Batman got the violent gene. Because that's how genes work. They're that simple. Please, get help.
But also, it's possible that this Joker could be retconned and replace Jared Leto as the Joker, because the DCEU's timeline is constantly shifting. See, in this universe, time travel actually does alter the course of history.
Here we have something again that's possible, but there's no real evidence that it's gonna happen. DC may have motivation to make it happen. They've got one Joker that seems to be quite popular and one that certainly doesn't. But you know, yeah, this is possible. The title of Screencrush's video is how Joker secretly connects to the DCEU, and here they are at the end of their video making the point that, I don't know, they could put him in, like it's possible. Hey! And that's the last of his points. What an embarrassingly bad video. Like, genuinely, this is one of the worst Joker takes I've seen. And there are some crazy ones out there. Part of me wants to refuse to believe that anyone is dumb enough to actually think all of this stuff is true, but then I look at the like to dislike ratio and I'm like, oh, clearly a majority of people who saw this were like, yeah, I can get behind this crap. But either Screencrushman genuinely believes some of the stuff he's saying here, or thinks that his audience is really dumb, which also isn't a good look, despite the very strong possibility that he's right. I mean, look at that fucking ratio. But that's the end of the video, and all I've got for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed. As I'm recording this, I'm about to move into a new home. As you're seeing this, I've moved in, and am without internet for a while. So don't worry if I become completely inactive until the 22nd of October, which is when I get my internet. But until then, a goodbye.